Alrighty, we are underway. We've got Buffalax, we've got the Cove, and it should be a good race. I believe the Cove's PB is about 127. Buff's sitting at about a 134, but the Cove was telling me earlier today he feels a little bit rusty. He's not too sure how well he's going to do, so we should be in for a good match here.
And if Terra does not get to level 5, she will be doing about 100 or so damage less on Welk. Oh boy!
Well, Buff's still playing. You can clearly hear his audio is still going, but I'll switch over to Cove's audio for now, and Cove's going to be fighting Welk here. In an ideal scenario, you'll be able to kill Welk before he enters his shell by clever ATB manipulation as well as counter-canceling him actually entering the shell. However, it looks like Terra's starting ATB in this fight is absolutely awful, so Cove's going to have to work some magic to actually get this to work. And it's looking like he's actually going to take his time, play it safe, not go for the quick kill, which I don't blame him for that. It would have been a really tight fit there.
I would have not attempted to try that myself, but so far she's not doing too badly.
And Welk is down for the Cove. No harm, no foul there. No shame in taking it easy. So we've got a little bit of cutscene here. So I'll go ahead and take this time to go over a little bit of how the tournament format works. Previously, when we've been doing these Super Nintendo Final Fantasy tournaments, we've been doing our group stages a little bit differently than we're doing here this time. So what we're doing this time is 4 rounds of Swiss, and then the people with the top 16 records will progress to an elimination bracket. Previously in the past, we would have a whole bunch of groups, and then whoever would win their group would progress, and then with some tiebreakers and other stuff going on as well. But so it's a little bit different this time, and hopefully it'll make the tournament go just a little bit quicker and be a little bit more clean. So we're coming up on naming Terra here, and you want to reduce her name down to one character, because if you read the text, all the text is drawn one character at a time. So whenever somebody's name is mentioned, if you can reduce the number of characters, the number of letters per like name mention, then you save time. And it actually, so shortening the names actually really helps over the course of the run.
It's except with Shadow, who we don't rename at all, correct?
Correct. There are a couple characters in the run, more so in the full run, but Shadow his name isn't mentioned more than once or twice, and so it actually is a time lost to take the time to back out. I mean, we're talking like milliseconds, really. So the Empire wants its Magitech armor. We are out of here. Going out the back door. Gee, I wonder who that girl on the bridge is. I wonder if it's who we're looking for. Nah.
Can't be. She doesn't have the armor.
Nah, that's not her. So we're going to do a little bit of grinding here. Unfortunately for Cove, in, I believe, the second fight, Vix did not run away. Maybe it was the first fight, actually. And so he's going to have to take extra fights on top of the normal extra fight you would have to take anyway. So he's going to have a little bit of grinding in store. And I do believe Buffalax is working on getting his video fixed. Looks like he's having trouble, though. So clearing out these enemies is pretty easy. You just multi-target fire, and the little grease monk dudes can counter you with a wrench if they want to be mean. That just wastes time, but ultimately there's no danger here. It's just a matter of getting through here and getting your experience.
Now what Cove is the bare minimum safe distance before you hit into the cutscene where you are forced to go down and to trigger the lock. And that's the bare safest minimum place to do the EXP grind.
Yeah, a very convenient spot because you're right next to the cutscene. So once you're done with your grind, you can just head on up and the cutscene will go. So this fight here is an extra fight for Cove. I do believe he's going to get his level here. And there it is. So Cove will progress on, and we'll see a certain treasure hunter. Couple more cutscenes here. We've got a little bit of Terra's history, being enslaved by the slave crown, torturing all these people for no good reason, you know, just simple Terra things. And once again, Buffalax is working on getting his stream straightened away here. Hopefully we'll have his video back soon. He's still running for sure, as his timer's still going. You can still hear the audio. It's looking like OBS is not capturing the emulator for some reason. So he's working on it. He's got to play the game and try and fix his problems. So bear with us here. So here we've got our favorite treasure hunter, L, as he'll be known. And L's task is to go on and save the Magitech Writing Witch and turn her to the returners in order to save the day and become the hero and, you know, save the world and all that jazz. Because the Empire is evil.
But he won't have to do so alone.
He won't?
No, he won't.
So we've got a whole slew of Moogles at our disposal now. The best one, of course, is Mog. And Mog's got, not only is Mog like level 12 or 13 or something crazy right now, but he has also got some equipment that we're going to shamefully steal from him. And yeah, that's it. So Mog is by and large the strongest person out of all these groups, and so we're gonna run straight to Marshall. None of these like wolf fights. That's not a thing we're doing.
As well.
Yeah. He's got a little bit of cropping to do before I can really add him back, but or maybe I'll just crop off of him. So give me 1 second here.
Now with this Marshall fight, you want Mog and Coupon first round to target Marshall, while Cuckoo and Kutan target the Lobos. As you can see,
taking a little more eccentric of a route around the guards, Buffalax into the Marshall fight as well. Now that his video is back. Thank you, Buffalax. And Cove dispatching the Marshall with not too much trouble. And Cove progresses out of Narshe. Unfortunately, because he took he had to take so many extra steps to get that extra fight for Terra. His step route's going to be a little on the off side. Normally, what you would do, at least what you can do, is set the seed prior to the run beginning, and then you'll know what step you'll get encounters on, and you're able to map out your experience route and so on and so forth throughout the entire run. But if, like what happened to the Cove, if Vix does not run away, then you kind of, until you reset at the river, you are up a creek in terms of step routing. So we've now arrived at the town of Figaro, and we're going to meet a certain chivalrous king. Very good with machinery, very good at hitting on the ladies. Our boy Edgar. Edgar's going to be really useful throughout the entirety of the speedrun. He not only has auto crossbow, which will target every enemy, as well as do a pretty significant amount of damage to all of his enemies. So he'll be very instrumental in grinding us the early experience that we need. He'll also get the Genji glove later, which will allow him to attack twice in battles, and that'll be pretty pivotal for all of our boss damage, our damage in boss fights, that is. So Buffalax finally entering Figaro here, and Edgar's flirting tactics not working on Terra for the Cove here. So in order for the plot to progress here, we've got to go talk to the matron of Figaro to learn about Edgar's brother Sabin. And in order to progress the plot, we learn about Sabin, we give him the name S. And Sabin's another character who is really instrumental into this run. He's able to output a ton of damage with the Blitz command.
And along with the Blitz command, his secondary Blitz move does get a boost from a certain relic later on that we will get on a certain train. Now with the chat done with the matron, we go back to talk to Edgar in his throne room.
Runner's gonna high five a little bit here. Buffalax on his way to Sabin, the Cove on his way to Edgar, and we're going to see our main antagonist, everybody's favorite clown. Kefka. I challenge you to name a character with a more iconic laugh. I bet you can't do it.
I don't think I can either.
Titus. Get out of here. All of you, get out of here. So Edgar and Locke and the Figaro crew are coming up with a plan to get Terra out of here before Kefka decides he's going to do Kefka things. And Kefka does his Kefka things, but we're able to kind of sneak out.
Now, at this point, as you see, Kafka has set fire to the castle, but looks like we have nowhere to go. Or do we?
So since Edgar is a master of machinery, he's apparently engineered the castle to be able to, you know, dive underground into the sand and traverse the entire world. No big deal. Simple machinery. So not only was the castle made out of rocks on fire, it's now underground. But we won't get out unscathed. We've got these two dudes in Magitech armor to deal with. But fortunately, in terms of how difficult they are, not difficult at all. Due to the overpowered auto crossbow, they're gonna die in just 2 hits. No big deal. And you do want to avoid using fire magic in this cutscene because it triggers an in-battle cutscene that lasts, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds? So
at least a minute or so.
It's definitely a long time.
You'll still want to avoid using it even in the cave in South Figaro because the magic cutscene will activate there if you use it during some of the small battles that you get into in there.
Yeah, I think it's maybe when you enter Mount Colts that flag finally turns off, but it can be really annoying. We've got Buffalax taking care of the Magitech armor right here as well, just about maybe a minute behind or so. And you know, he did have video issues to deal with as well, so it's understandable that he would be trailing by just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely about a minute behind, but there's still plenty of time for him to catch up.
So we've made it to the cave of South Figaro. I don't know if, I think it's just called South Figaro Cave or Cave of South Figaro. Either way, the treasures in this cave have a really interesting property. If you were to walk through and run around and grab all the treasures right now, you would get inferior items. But when you come back later in Locke's scenario and you open the treasures, the items actually upgrade. And then if you were to wait until the World of Ruin and then open the treasure chest, then the items would actually upgrade again. So it's kind of similar to, if you remember the chest in Chrono Trigger, where if you would trigger them in 600 AD and then go to 1000 AD and open them, you would get upgrades. It's sort of the same concept here. So in terms of the speedrun, we're going to be fighting all the battles we can to get as many levels as we can early on, and fortunately Edgar's auto crossbow makes short work of just about everything in here. There can be some bad damage rolls where you have to do an extra fight or two, but ultimately auto crossbow is the weapon of choice.
Definitely the weapon of choice until Ultros.
You'll also notice the Cove walked a very specific way on the overworld to get into South Figaro. There's actually hidden tiles on the overworld where you do not increment your threat counter, and you cannot get an encounter on those tiles. And you can't tell unless you just know that from analysis people have done. So we're able to grab the sprint shoes here, and we're finally able to be walking fast, making our way downtown. So we get a tutorial from the Chocobo guy, even though he asked the question and then immediately proceeds to give us a tutorial. What a jerk. And here we are on Mount Colts. I'm going to make a little bit of a detour on Mount Colts to pick up the Atlas Armlet. And what the Atlas Armlet will do will be to boost physical damage, and that'll boost the damage of our auto crossbow, and essentially allow us to one-shot all of the enemies, except for Tuskers and sometimes Trilliums, on Mount Colts here, and that'll allow us to grind a little more efficiently.
We also have to avoid fighting the brawlers since they take too long to kill as well.
Brawlers do take a while to kill, and they don't really give all that much experience, too. So they're just kind of a total pain in the butt. So we've got Buffalax picking up the sprint shoes here, and he'll be setting all of his characters to the back row like Cove did, and equipping those sprint shoes so we can walk very, very fast. Movement in this game can get pretty tight. There's a lot of, if you're on step route, there's a lot of mistakes you're capable of making. There's a little bit of leeway built into the route, but ultimately, it's pretty hard to walk accurately in this game, I must admit.
I can attest to that myself with that with movement being very, very hard to do in the sprint shoes.
I definitely think walking is the hardest part of this run, by far.
Agreed.
Cove actually electing to run from these Tuskers. They would have taken, I believe, 2 auto crossbows and a multi-target fire to kill them. So he's going to be maybe hunting for a couple more fights to get his levels, but I think he might be able to reach Vargas without having to grind anything extra, but I might be wrong. I'm actually not as familiar with this game as I am Final Fantasy IV. So
I think he might need to grind at least 1 or 2 extra fights. That depends on what he gets along the way.
So you notice the Cove had Locke run away from this battle, and unfortunately Terra ran away as well. So Edgar's gonna eat all the experience from that 4-pack, and ideally you want just Locke to run away. Locke will reach the level we need him to be, level 9, with relative ease, and so he actually doesn't need all the fights, but Edgar and Terra do. So a little bit unfortunate for Cove. He's having some pretty bad luck when it comes to people running away from fights here.
Now, the reason that we're looking for certain levels from these characters is because all these levels, their averages, all the levels average onto Sabin and to other characters later on as well, and that makes them more powerful for what we need them to do as the run progresses.
That's very true. The easiest way to grind is to not have to grind at all, right?
Yep.
So we've got the Cove approaching Vargas here. He's going to have to take a couple more fights to get those levels. Ideally, you want Edgar to be level 10, Locke to be level 9, and Terra to be level 8. Unfortunately for Cove, he's going to get a 4-pack here, and that's going to be a pretty significant chunk of experience. So I would imagine he's going to get his levels here. You also see he's going to equip the Mithril Pike onto Edgar. That's something he pulled off of Mog in the Marshall fight. Normally you can't unequip Mog's equipment, not in the menu at least, but in battle you can just, for whatever reason, they didn't think about it, and you can just pull it right on off. Buffalax actually electing to take a safety save, nothing wrong with that. He's also going to use some of those sleeping bags that he's picked up for some nice quick heals. And Locke gets his level from running away. We've got 10-9-7. Terra is just one short. Unfortunately, running from that 4-pack is looking to be pretty devastating here. But we've got Buffalax running right along. He's going to be catching up here pretty shortly. And oh, it's going to be another fight for Cove to get Terra to level 8.
It's unfortunate, but it allows Buffalax to catch up.
And unfortunately, Buffalax getting Bane touched. What that means is he will immediately have to go into the menu and use the Antidote spell in order to cure that poison, and the Cove seeing a bit of the same on Edgar. If you don't cure the poison, you take 1 point of damage for every step you take, and it adds up very quickly, and you can't see anything. The screen blurs and it's awful. So Cove's finally got Terra to level 8. He'll be proceeding on with the Vargas fight. Vargas comes with 2 bears for whatever reason, and you cannot target Vargas until the bears are dead.
Buffalax looks like is at the appropriate levels as well, so he will be entering the fight within the next 20 or so seconds.
We've got 1 bear down for the Cove. Vargas does a pretty significant amount of damage, but fortunately you're able to pump out enough damage to trigger the cutscene. It takes 700 hit points worth of damage on Vargas. And between auto crossbow, fire, and Locke with the Mithril blade that he got from Edgar, it goes by pretty quickly. In an ideal fight, you'll be able to skip Doomfist, which is an attack by Vargas after Sabin appears. That takes a little bit of time. It can be manipulated, but ultimately it's pretty rough to manipulate, so we'll see if he gets it here. Got Buffalax entering the Vargas fight as well, so he's really not all that far behind now. So Cove actually gets an immediate Doomfist, which is fine, because by the time he inputs his Blitz, the dialogue's already gone, so really, no harm, no foul there. And through the power of Pummel, Vargas goes down. Oh, we saw
wow.
Royal Shock.
Lucky Buffalax to get that limit break.
So a little known fact about Final Fantasy VI, if your character is in critical hit points and a certain amount of time has passed in a battle, you have a 1 in 16 chance when doing the fight command to trigger their desperation attack. And because Edgar was low, Buffalax decides, we don't need no stinking auto crossbow. We're gonna fight, and there it is, Royal Shock for Buffalax, Edgar's desperation attack.
Buffalax avoided the Doomfist as well.
Buffalax swagging all over this Vargas fight.
Cove not electing to take a safety save outside the returner's hideout because he's on sub route. But there's also chances to soft block if the certain NPC is in the way.
Yeah, that returner on the right side you saw moving around there has the potential to get between Edgar and the one leading him. And if he goes up on the stairs, Edgar walks up, blocks him in, and you're just stuck. You can't do anything, and you have soft locked. But fortunately for Cove, that did not happen. And he'll be progressing on with the cutscene here. So the Returner's Hideout has a number of treasures in it. People can elect to either pick them up or not. I would imagine most of the runners throughout this tournament will be picking up the treasures, as they do merit a lot of safety and can speed up some fights. So in order to progress here, you must talk to Locke, Sabin, and Edgar, and then go outside and talk to Bannon. A little known fact about this game, if you say no to Bannon 3 times, you skip the cutscene about where they discuss what they're planning, as well as you get the Genji glove from this soldier right here walking around in the room here.
This in turn saves, what, about 30-40 seconds overall in the run?
I think the cutscene itself is over a minute, and then the fact that you have the Genji glove does increase your damage output by a pretty significant margin. So, ultimately, I don't know how much time it would save. Probably closer to 2 minutes, I would say. I will actually be right back really quick. I got a phone call from somebody.
So the returner just came in as reporting on South Figaro being taken by the Empire, and now there is a plan to split the two teams up. Locke going to doing sabotage, while Tara, Edgar, and Sabin, along with a certain leader of the returners, must go down the river to get back to Narshe. Also, at this point, if someone's on sub-route, they would save here in the Returner's Hideout and reset and everything after they get their equipment all squared away.
Sorry about that, I am back. And you are going to see the Cove resetting here, and the point of resetting is to manipulate the river. So the upcoming river has a total, from anywhere, I believe 1 to 9 total fights. And this value is dependent on the NPC movement value. And so we're able to reset, and that'll kind of initialize the NPC movement value. And then when the NPC walks on the carpet, that's the value you want, and that'll give us 2 encounters on the river. As opposed to, you know, if you run around the river and you get 9 encounters, that's a ton of time. So it definitely saves a fair amount of time. One other thing you might see runners do is on the river, not this encounter, but the next encounter will be 2 pterodons. And pterodons do give a ton of experience. And for safety purposes, you can have... Ooh, the Cove accidentally going right. Not sure what that's going to do for him. But it's going to be an interesting turn of events. The scenic route.
Massively unfortunate, but mistakes do happen, and not much you can do about it now. Write it out.
All to get banning his shades. I like it. So Cove electing to safety save here before Ultros. Not a bad plan.
Not bad at all.
It's looking like going right is also going to get him just a total of 2 encounters. Maybe we've got a new meta here. If you don't need Pterodons, you go right.
That could be interesting, but we'll see how it affects the run in the long haul.
So the Ultros fight here, if executed properly, will always go the same way. He's got an AI where he'll start the fight with an attack. His next target will be on Terra, and then followed by Sabin, and then it'll be a multi-target tentacle, and then he'll target a random person with a single tentacle. So this is the attack on Terra right here. And Ultros will also counter every fire with ink on somebody. I believe it's always Terra, actually.
Yes, it's always Terra.
And so you're able to use that, if you time it properly, you can use that as a counter cancel, similar to the Welt going into the shell trick, where you can cause him to skip a turn and actually counter instead. So there's the target on Sabin, so we're looking at potentially a full slew of attacks against the entire party here, and hopefully that's really not what you want to see, because Ultros can be a total jerk and target Bannon and it's all over. Ooh, dodged a bullet. And down goes Ultros. Buffalax also electing the safety save.
Buffalax is just entering Ultros now. Now, as you've seen, Cove just like it's like Sabin scenario. Main reason for this is because we collect smoke bombs at the end of the section, which will be useful for lock scenario later on.
You'll notice Cove renaiming Shadow here, picking up Shadow for safety purposes. We do not want to take any normal encounters on the world map with Shadow, otherwise he has the potential to run away if we complete the encounter normally. However, that's not something we'll be doing. We've got Sabin all the levels he needs, and no more grinding for the rest of this run here. Ooh, unfortunate incorrect blitz input for Buffalax on the Aura Bolt, and it's going to put him a little behind in damage. But I think he's gonna be okay. And yep, Ultros down for Buffalax, so maybe about 30-40 seconds behind.
I'd say that's about accurate.
And we've got the Cove entering the Imperial Guard camp, and this will bring us to our 50-year-old man, warrior guy, Cyan. Cyan is the retainer to the King of Doma, and unfortunately for Cyan, Doma's not going to be around for too much longer. It's being assaulted by the Empire. A certain guy might have some poison up his sleeve. If only there was some way to warn him.
I heard there's some weeding involved too. Now, once Cove gets control of Cyan, he will be putting sprint shoes on him and putting battle speed up to 1. This is so we can quickly activate Tech 2 for retort and finish this fight quickly.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about battle speed in this game is it only affects enemies. So if you set the game to battle speed 6, enemies go very slowly, your ATB does not change at all, and so you can think of it as kind of a difficulty slider, almost. But when using retort, we want the enemy to act as fast as possible, so we are able to retort his action, obviously. And retort's super busted. You'll see that later on as well.
Now, battle speed is not changed back until after the next 2 coming battles that we're about to see.
We're gonna have a little bit of a tussle with Kefka. Not one, but 2 tussles. And actually, Kefka is a part of your party in these battles, so adjusting the battle speed does not matter. Got some great Kefka quotes coming up here. Oh, Interceptor with the block. What do you say, Zero Wing? Do I look like a waiter?
No. Do I look like a waiter?
Nah. Unfortunately, the name of this tournament is not Kefka at Imperial Guard Camp, otherwise we'd be done right about now. But we're going to go ahead and set the battle speed back to 6, as well as strip Shadow of his armor for Sabin, because we like Sabin more. And this upcoming fight here with the 4 guards can be a little bit annoying. The idea is to take out the front guards with normal attacks, as those are faster than Sabin's blitzes. And then depending on whether or not we get an interceptor counter or what happens in the fight, we will take out the Templar with a pummel and a thrown air lancet, which we picked up from the Returner's hideout. And fortunately for Cove, he was able to get a preemptive attack, so only this counter attack from the Templar here, and he is out of this fight. That was a very ideal guard fight right there. Oh no, Kefka, what are you doing?
Don't pour that in the river.
But I love Kool-Aid.
But it's not Kool-Aid at all.
But it tastes so good.
That's to cover up what it's really doing to everyone.
Unfortunately, everybody in Doma except for Cyan and the dude chilling next to Cyan drink the Kool-Aid. And we've got a suplex on Kefka from Buffalax. The swag, dude.
And he does it again. For more swag.
Sometimes you just need to drop Kefka on his head. That's all there is to it.
Indeed, he definitely deserves it. Now, Cyan comes in to find his family rather gone, and this sends him into a rage, and he goes off to fight.
We've got a series of fights coming up here with Cyan. You do not actually get control of him, so he can do either one of two things. He can either attack normally, or he can do a dispatch. Generally, dispatches, the animation actually wastes time. All of these guards would die to one attack. So ideally, Cyan will attack, and if Cyan is attacked at any point, he will also counterattack. I'm not sure if that's guaranteed. I think it's a pretty high rate. And unfortunately a dispatch for the Cove here, so we'll lose a little bit of time to that, but ultimately not a bad fight, especially because it was a preemptive. Final fight with the Grunt here, more of the same. Ideally, Sabin will hit the guard, but it didn't happen. Actually, no, you want Sabin to take out a cadet. My bad. Ideally, you want to give Sabin one target, and that's the cadet, not the grunts. I got the cadets and the grunts confused. Funny. And so he will Aura Bolt the cadet, and you'll have enough damage. But alas. So now that Cyan has united in the camp with Sabin and Shadow here, we're going to steal some Magitech armor. And there's only 2 suits here, so Shadow is going to run off super duper fast to find a third set of armor. Why he's never that fast in the normal game, I don't know. And as the Cove exits the rage fights, we've got Buffalax beginning the rage fights, so again, probably about the same amount of time between the two of them. And Buffalax actually electing to heal Shadow here. Oh, sorry, the Cove. Cove elected to heal Shadow here. I got them confused for a second. Shame on me.
Not sure if I should mention this, but if you accidentally get in front of Cyan during these gauntlet fights, you will get hit and take damage. So that's something that can happen if you're not very good in your movements.
I actually didn't know that. I don't think I've ever actually walked in front of him.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times during some practice runs. Cove just got done with the final fight within the Imperial camp, so we'll be exiting the magic armors now and heading off on our merry way to the forest.
So the Phantom Forest has a couple of nasties here. These ghosts here, they do cast fire, and it can do a significant number of damage if it's single targeted, so it can be a pretty scary place sometimes. Fortunately, there's this recovery spring here, so once you reach this point, you're at full health on everybody, so that's not so bad. Seeing some questions in chat. The duration of this tournament will be only to Kefka at Narshe. It will not expand throughout. The general intention of this speedrun tournament is to get people interested in running Final Fantasy VI, and the Kefka at Narshe category, aside from some small minor changes, is a good preface to just about all of the categories that are that FF6 entails. Well, maybe not 80%. 80% is actually shorter than this, but who wants to die 52 times? Let's be real. Spooky train. Are you spooked? I'm spooked.
I'm not spooked. The ghosts and their random movements. This is going to be... You can see if they cooperate for our runners tonight. Now, Cove took these extra steps inside the train car to avoid encountering any encounters outside the train car, so you can go up the ladder more efficiently and get ahead that much faster.
Ooh, unfortunate ghost pincer here. You want to force an encounter inside the train car because the encounter outside is significantly nastier than the one you get inside. And I do believe it might mess with Velt Packs. I don't really know for sure about that one. So fortunately with ghosts, you're able to use a potion on them and that will immediately kill them. And so Cove is able to potion one side of this fight and run away. We've got Buffalax also boarding the Phantom train here. So we're surrounded by spooky ghosts, and the only way to get out of this is to have Sabin carry both Shadow and Cyan. Shadow? And jump across, 300 million feet across these train cars. And somehow the switch to detach the train cars is just conveniently right here. Wow.
Who put that design in this train like that, I wonder?
And lo and behold, this switch also opens the door. Wow.
Dual purpose switches. Who would have thunk it?
See, go ahead.
Okay. The earrings that we just picked up, as I said earlier, help Sabin increase damage for Aura Bolt. They increase magic power, and Aura Bolt is a combination of magic and attack power. Oops, looks like Cove accidentally went inside the train instead of going up and around. It's faster to go up and around than going inside and avoiding between transitions.
It's also more steps inside. I think it's only like 6 across the outside, but you go inside, it's about, what, 30 or 40?
Give or take.
Alright, so here we are, our first Phantom Train battle of the tournament. Will we see a suplex, or will the Cove elect to go safe and only use the Phoenix down? Vote now on your phones.
It looks like he's going for the suplex.
A true people's champ. Wow, this ghost is not letting Buffalax get by him here. A little unfortunate there.
Buffalax making the same mistake of going in as well to the train car. Ooh. A nasty back attack from a bomb for Buffalax. Almost getting entirely wiped.
Looking a little bit on the scary side here, and I don't believe Buffalax picked up any extra Phoenix Downs or anything, so he's gonna have to play it a little bit safe here. I'm still wondering if we'll see a suplex. But he's going for it. No save. We shall see. And Buffalax electing not to do the suplex. One character alive. Can't really blame him. Probably wants to keep going with his run here.
Now what Call of here is doing is setting up for our next boss fight, as well as getting all the necessary curses on their positions for before and after the fight. What we need to do.
So we are coming up on the Barren Falls, and you might remember from playing this game normally that Barren Falls, you fall down a waterfall for what feels like 30 billion years, and you fight a whole bunch of piranhas, and then you fight a boss called Rizopos. If things go well for the Cove and for Buffalax here, we should never even see Rizopos. Let's see how it plays out.
Now, as you can see, Cove is unequipping Cyan in order to decrease his defense, so he can be easier to kill in order to do the variant on the Psycho Cyan glitch.
Alright, so what we're going to see here is we're going to kill off Cyan. We don't like Cyan. He just watched his, his mother and his son depart to the other side, so we want him to join. Get back on that Phantom train. But really what we're doing here is we are setting up a version of the Psycho Cyan glitch with the retort command. For whatever reason, when Cyan dies and is revived and then casts retort, he starts countering just about everything. And for whatever reason in this game, if you attack an enemy with a physical and a magical attack, the game really doesn't really know what to do with AI scripts when that happens. And so in this scenario, if all goes well, he'll have Sabin suplex the piranha after Cyan has cast retort, and Cyan will actually retort the suplex action and hit the piranha. The piranha's gonna die. The game's gonna be like, huh? Okay, the fight's over. And here we go. No more Rizopos.
Buffalax is electing to use his tent outside for safety purposes.
I think he did that so he could resurrect Cyan to take his armor off.
Yeah, I don't blame him for doing so. It was a very good move to do it.
Best theme in the game right here. So there's a reason this tournament is named after our boy Gao. Gao has a 5/8 chance of appearing after a 1 encounter on the belt, and there's also specific encounters you can't get him on, if there's a back attack, if somebody has a status effect, if it's a pincer, all kinds of things. Unfortunately, the step route is done in such a way where the first 2 encounters you get after acquiring the dried meat are single enemy encounters, and then after that, you're on your own, basically.
Said it's a 5/8 encounter, but that can be pretty RNG heavy, and you might not show up at all after those first 2 encounters.
Cope actually getting an extra encounter here. I wonder if that's because the belt packs are different. I'm not actually quite too sure why that happened. But no harm, no foul. And looking like Buffalax is going to be able to execute the Rizopos skip as well here. Retort going in, and Piranha's down, and no Rizopos to be found. The Cove's got his dried meat. Let's see how his Gao finding goes. First try. Sometimes lucky. So the Gao fighting cutscene is a bit of a long one. Lots of battle text, lots of Mr. Thao, lots of dancing, lots of sadness, lots of learning about how Gao works.
And no mashing of the controller either, I might add.
Yep, one of the rare times you can just hold A. Any text in battles, any progression of windows popping up, you can just hold A for these. It's kind of nice. Scratch Dragon points out, don't forget, lots of Kappa. And here we are. Let's see how Buffalax fares here. He's going up against some Grasshoppers here, and unfortunately, the Grasshoppers have the ability to berserk a party member. And if you're berserked and Gao shows up, and one of your party members is like, "I'm gonna punch him in the face," Gao runs away. So hopefully that doesn't happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen here for Buffalax. And first try Gao for Buffalax as well. Truly free.
Electing to use his tent outside Crescent Mountains before going in to get the helmet we're looking for.
Serpent Trench can sometimes be a bit of a scary place. If you get super duper unlucky, I guess you could die, but I think mostly Serpent Trench will just troll you time-wise.
Indeed.
So somehow, through the magic of science, this helmet will let us breathe underwater. It will not only let one person breathe underwater, it will let 3 people breathe underwater. Don't ask me how, I haven't figured it out.
I say it's partly magic, as well as technology.
But who made this technology?
Who knows? We may never find out.
So the Serpent Trench here, what you really want to watch out for is a single angle form on the first battle. If it's an angle form by itself, it changes the AI of the angle form a little bit. It can cast something nasty. I think it's something like Aqua Rake, I believe.
Yes, it's Aqua Rake.
And that could be pretty devastating to your party. But fortunately for Cove, not seeing anything but Acteons here. The other thing you gotta watch out for in the Serpent Trench is getting a pincer attack with aspics, which are little floating jellyfish, which can cast stop on you. And if you get stopped, then you're sitting there for a pretty significant amount of time. And unfortunately for Buffalax here, getting the ghost pincer attack that Cove saw on the train itself, so that kind of evening out between the two of them.
Now, Cove decided to go left and then go right. These 4 choices are to help us go faster through the entire trench system and gets us to our next destination.
So we are approaching the end of Sabin's scenario here. We only have the town of Nakia left to go. But fortunately for us, Nakia has a certain item that is going to make both Locke's and Terra's scenario much more easy. Much easier? More easy? Easier. I'm going to go with easier. And that item is smoke bombs, which when used will allow you to run from any fight that you're capable of running from, including pincer attacks. So it's a little bit of a trek into town to pick up these smoke bombs, but trust me, it's totally worth it.
He bought 14, which is a decent amount to help us through both sides of those scenarios. That should be more than enough for what's needed, and we will probably have a few left over by the time we get done.
Alright, and that's going to do it for Sabin on the Cove stream. We should be seeing Locke's scenario next. Meanwhile, Buffalax has entered the Serpent Trench and will be making his way through as well. So if you pay attention to the Cove stream, he's going to start Locke's scenario here, and one thing you're going to see right off the bat after he does a little bit of equipping is Locke's going to get out of South Figaro very quickly. And you see on Buffalax's screen, single angle form back attack. This is very, very scary. Hopefully Buff's able to get that Aura Bolt off, and he does, so he'll be just fine. But definitely get your heart pumping a little bit.
So after re-equipping Locke and giving him the sprint shoes, we are going to attempt the guard clip. He does it on the first try as well.
And Locke has escaped South Figaro, just like that. To perform the guard clip, you simply go into the menu while the guard is walking toward you, and you kind of occupy the same space as the guard's going to occupy, and you can just kind of walk right by him. It's very easy. So the Cove's going to run through South Figaro Cave here. He's got Locke all by his lonesome. He's going to be able to smoke bomb from all of the encounters he runs into, and he's actually going to pick up a Thunder Rod in the cave, and that's going to help him deal with tunnel armor. Interesting fact about rods in this game, when used as an item, you consume the rod, but it casts a maximum damage magic spell that ignores defense, I believe, as well. So rods in this game are hilariously broken.
And it's always a second tier spell as well, which is useful in many ways, but we don't get any more rods until late in the game. Well, later, but you're not going to see that part.
One more encounter for Cove here, and he's going to be fighting tunnel armor. Meanwhile, Buffalax is through the Serpent Trench. He's going to be buying up some smoke bombs. It's also looking like he's going to pick up a Mithril Pike as well.
Now, who is speaking at the moment? We got no name, and it's like someone's there but isn't there. What's going on, Nerm?
It's the voices in Locke's head, don't worry about it.
Okay, that makes total sense.
And Zappo, tunnel armor is down. And I hope you didn't blink, because Locke's scenario is over, and we're on to the final scenario of Terra, Edgar, and Bannon. Cove electing to take a safety save before starting this one off. Maybe had some experience in the past with Bannon dying on the river. Oh, I see. He's going to get his Pterodon fight now, and that's going to get him level 12 for the Kefka fight. That's pretty clever.
Yeah, I was just going to say that myself. That is pretty clever.
Looking like Buffalax struggling a little bit with the guard clip here. He's entering the menu just a bit too late. There he goes. First try, right?
Yes, first try indeed.
Cove makes his way out of the river, and he'll be progressing on through the Narshe caves. Nothing really of note happens in this scenario outside of the security room, where you have to walk a certain path in order to not get into an encounter. Other than that, pretty clean, no boss fights. Really kind of a boring scenario, all things considered.
There is potential to get, if you're going to the Mogul room, to get stopped by one of them in the little passageway.
See those smoke bombs coming into play rather often in Locks and Terra scenario both. Really nice to be able to quickly run away from fights. The press of a button. Here we have the Narshe security checkpoint. You have to follow that light, otherwise you are surrounded by lights, and if you don't win the minigame, then you have to take a pretty nasty encounter. But fortunately for us, the way that talking to NPCs in this game works, if you just hold A when the lights start, then you don't have to do anything. Super duper easy, and it's done. Wow. And Buffalax going into his tunnel armor fight here. As Cove is going to enter the Moogle Cave and pick himself up the Rune Edge. No encounters on this map and also in the Moogle Cave, so it spits you out a little bit further on in the cave and you pick up a weapon for Edgar. You're not going to see Buffalax do this because he bought another Mithril Pike, so he doesn't need another weapon. So a little bit of a divergence between the two routes here. And just a couple more encounters for the Cove, and he's going to be moving on to the Kefka at Narshe sequence after a pretty lengthy cutscene. Meanwhile, Buffalax finishing up Locke scenario, he's going to be starting off the Ben and Terra Edgar scenario here as well. So we're looking at maybe about a minute and a half between these two.
I think it's a little bit more at this point, but I'd say minimum of like a minute and 40 seconds or so.
In order for Buff to get back into this one, he's going to need something to go pretty wrong for the Cove. The Cove is sitting pretty right now.
You have to have Cove hit the rider for himself to catch up.
That's going to take a little bit more than the rider, I think. Might take some Ice 2s from Kefka, or maybe he goes the wrong way on the guards. Either way, still a lot that can happen, but the Cove looking pretty good right about now. So Cove has completed all 3 scenarios, so everybody meets up in Narshe. Cyan gets really mad that everybody worked for the Empire before, and we learn that the Empire is surprised they're attacking Narshe. Never mind the whole we're neutral. They have an Esper. Kefka wants that Esper.
He just wants the ice. Now, I just see here we have a Mogul named Kutan with us. It seems to be general for the Empire. Due to our little leaving a certain character behind, we now have this Mogul. Since this Mogul is actually in the data, and if you rename it, it's actually in Celeste's spot within the roster. So if we rename Celeste, you don't get this Mogul. Like, them could explain it better than myself, because as it is.
You pretty much nailed it. Because we never see Celeste, we never name her, we never initialize her data. The data that's currently in that slot belongs to Kutan from the Mughal sequence. So we get General Kutan of the Empire. Well-known general that torched Miranda. Will be interesting to see if Cove elects to safety save before Kefka and Narshe. I would assume so, but I've seen some stranger things happen in my day.
He does like the safety save.
Can't blame him.
Not at all. It's one of those things that is the safest thing to do at this point.
Oh, and we get the tutorial. Fortunately, not a long tutorial. So we put all of our high damage dealers into the middle party. That party has to take the least amount of steps to get to Kefka. As you see, they're lined up nice and even with that left side there. And if everything goes well, all the guards will walk right past us, and we'll be able to waltz right on down to Kefka. And we are in the final throes of the race here. And this sequence is basically just known about where to stand. The guards will always follow the same path. And as long as you don't get adjacent to them, they'll never fight you. And here we go, the Kefka fight. So this fight can get really nasty if Kefka gets his third turn. His third turn, he's capable of multicasting Ice 2, which is pretty much a guaranteed party wipe. So ideally, you want to kill him before he reaches that point. And that's accomplished by a lot of weight tricking. By being in a menu while an action is occurring, you basically deny Kefka's ATB from filling up. Unfortunately, not only did Gao die here, but Orbital happened after Kefka's second turn, so he's gonna be eating the third turn here. I think that's pretty much guaranteed because he lost Gao's damage. So hopefully for Cove, it's not Ice 2. And it's an attack, so Cove should be in the clear. And there it is. Cove's official SRL time is the bot is down. Thanks, SRL. We'll say it's 1:32. We'll go off the timer.
Might as well.
Congratulations to the Cove. And we've got Buffalax ascending the mountain here. Let's go ahead and switch to his audio.
Yes, congrats on winning.
Buffalax does not safety save. He's confident. He's going for it.
He figures he doesn't have anything to lose at this point.
Alright, we've got Edgar making his way down. Got some stupid guards who, they're just there for the money, man. There's people standing over there? Nah, they're not important. And we are past the rider and into the Kefka fight. Pretty good ATB start for Buffalax here. Hopefully he's able to get back to saving second turn before Kefka goes here. And he is, so he's looking pretty good for killing Kefka before Kefka's third turn here. Oh, nice crit from Edgar there. He's got dual Mithril Pikes, which do a little bit more damage than the Rune Edge. Third Aura Bolt here going off for Buffalax. And there it is. No third turn. A good Kefka fight from Buff, and he's going to finish with a time of 1:35.12. Good game to both of our runners.
Very good game indeed.